Did you all hear me say American Red Cross CEO? We're not even playing. We're not playing. Not the D-list. We got you. Okay. Next, I'd like to bring to the stage
that just has really changed my life. So in 2017, for those of you that remember Hurricane Harvey in Houston, if you remember, Houston had 51 inches of rain dump on it in about 3 days. Houston typically in a year gets 50 inches of rain, just for you to understand what that looked like. And in the George R. Brown Convention Center, so if you think about the United Center, at the height of the disaster, there was 15,000 people living. So think about going into the United Center and there's 15,000 people that are there sleeping on cots, families, children, people who have lost absolutely everything. Houston has the second largest undocumented population in the country. And when we walked into there, and I was actually a colleague of mine, got there first from LA, and he called me about 6 days into the response and said, Selena, I'm standing in the George R. Brown Convention Center, and there's no Latinos here. And you're looking around, you're asking yourself, how is that possible? Now, during the time that was happening in Texas, the Latino community was being targeted by different groups in law enforcement, and the government at that time. And so the Red Cross, as being a neutral organization, our only role and our only objective is to be able to make sure that we can serve people no matter what. But still, at this moment, this entire community is not coming to the Red Cross for help, is seeing that it's unsafe to be able to do so. And so myself and a colleague formed what became the initial Latino engagement teams that now deploy during disaster responses with the Red Cross around the country to go out. So really recruiting local volunteers, people who speak the language, who are culturally competent to provide access to Red Cross services and help during times of disasters. And so this idea that we're not going to wait for someone to come to us for help, we're going to go to them. And this now has been implemented across the country, and we continue to use these teams, Latino engagement teams during times of disasters. But I use this as an example of what it means for all of us, even with working with the best of companies, with the best of intentions that are doing such good work, we sometimes can see where there isn't access. We can see that things aren't right and things aren't fair. And I remember at the time also being fairly new to the organization, kind of raising my hand and saying, this is a problem. The entire community can't get to us and can't get help. And thankfully, because it is the Red Cross, quickly they said, okay, what do we need to do? Here are the resources. Here's the support to make sure there's equal access. But the other part of it, so companies may not see it, even though it may be really clear to us, right? So when we don't see women at the table, we don't see a community at the table, that we need to be able to say that. But also they may not have the knowledge, the tools, really the knowledge to be able to know what to do. So that's the other part of our role, is being able to work with companies, businesses, organizations to say, this is how you do that work. So I think that is really one of the things that I've been most proud of, but I really mention that as a way that, again, kind of talking about where our voice is to
workplace, make it work for everybody.
Sure. And I'm going to say something about the workforce, but I also want to say just about something that we do as women. And so I have some very dear friends that are here in the audience, and I have a dear friend who's one of our deputy governors. And she is someone who, I have to say, it's one thing where, when you're sitting at the table and you're like, oh, there's no women here at the table. And then you kind of like give them names of people. She's literally like, no, hold on, I'll wait while you call them. Right? Like, and that's a difference. Like, there's a difference between and how you actually say, what's the next step of not just be like, here are the names, here are the people that need to be at the table, but I'm actually going to sit here and wait and ensure that these individuals can be at the table. So I think, and when we think about our workforce, right, and I know one of the things that I do just want to mention is I was a single mom for a long period of time. My son is 18 now, and so, yes, he's 18. He's 18 now. And so I mentioned this about in terms of what can the workforce do, and thinking about supporting women in creating work schedules, work environments that support all women, right? I have amazing friends who are single and they're incredible. And I have amazing friends that have children and or just have a partner, right? And so how do we create environments and workplaces that can support all women? And I do just want to say in this part about being a mom, as well, that really when we can give ourselves grace, when our companies and our businesses can also give ourselves grace. I had this moment, I think I was going to the California wildfires, I was being deployed and I was running to the airport and I couldn't take my son to school that day, so I had to put him in an Uber. I think he was a freshman, and I was feeling guilty about not driving him to school, and so I'm texting him, from on the way to the airport being like, okay, and you had your soccer bag, and then I remember this also really during the pandemic and on Zoom, like how obvious was it when you joined like a screen and you were the only woman, right? And it's just all these other squares of men, you don't really notice it as much as like then during the pandemic, you're like, wow, I'm really the only one in this space. And I remember when I started in this role 7 years ago, when I was at an event with young Latinas, and I remember several of them coming up to me and saying, you have no idea what it means for me to see you in this role, or I've never met a Latina CEO before. And so this other part of going back to, again, how important it is for businesses and groups to be able to create those mirror images, because we can accomplish what we can see. And when we haven't been able to see it that way, it becomes more challenging for young women.
You have to see it to believe it.
See it to